Hey guys, Stealth here. Welcome to the War Room. This week's War Room, I wanted to talk about a few different items as usual. What happened last week, what's going on this week, and what can you expect from the channel. First off though, I watched a very interesting show yesterday on National Geographic. I don't watch the channel too often, and what I found interesting about this one was that it was announced on billboards. And it's a series of documentaries called The Story of God. Now, I gotta say, I am not religious, and that doesn't mean I'm interested, but I'm very skeptic about it. And this first episode was about the end of days and how different religions deal with that. Very interesting. It was presented by God himself, Morgan Freeman. If you don't get that reference, go and watch Bruce Almighty. Highly recommended. Aside from that, the show had some very interesting things, as Morgan Freeman was followed interviewing different specialists from different religions. And for example, I believe it's in the Bible, you have the number of the beast, 666, also known as the devil. He's also sometimes called the Antichrist, and researchers have been trying to find out, okay, how exactly does that work? Who is this person, or what is this person? It turned out that it's not some sort of mystical creature, and okay, actually let me stop myself here. I'm not going to, how should I put this? I'm not going to try and ridiculize your faith or your religion. That's not at all my point. This was just a show that had a very scientific approach to everything. And one of the aspects that they were looking at was this element. Anyway, this number that you see recurring here and there, 666, it's supposedly a sort of secret Christian code for Nero, Emperor Nero from Rome. Because initially, Rome, of course, hunted down the followers of Christianity. So, the term Antichrist here is pretty literal. This guy was a big anti-Christian. That's something I had never considered before, that it could be taken this literally. Aside from that, the code 666 refers to the numbers, or the number value of the letters in his name. With our standard alphabet, you have, for example, A through Z, which is 26 letters, whereas A would be 1, B would be 2, etc. Well, in Latin or Greek, I'm not sure which language it's written in, that's a bit different. And there you could go up to values which were way higher. And according to the show, initially they prescribed in the code 666 so they wouldn't have to write the name. And in other scripts, he was written as 616, which is, I believe, the different, what was it again? The different spelling from Latin, where they don't write Emperor Neron, N-E-R-O-N, but Emperor Nero, N-E-R-O. Which means that the last letter is missing, and the last letter, the N, apparently was in their alphabet worth 50 points, so there's 616. So I found that very interesting. Of course, Islam was also a very interesting point for me, because what you hear about it on the news is not the full story. I mean, especially here in the Netherlands, we have several politicians who are very eager to flame on Islam, whereas I think that's completely undeserved. And as the show also put it, there's a tiny percentage, a tiny fraction really, of Islam who is causing all sorts of mayhem. In the form of IS in this case, but that is not what Islam as a whole stands for. The show differentiated between Islam, which means submission in the sense of submission to God, not submission whereas we beat people into submission. And their goal is not to make war or kill as many people as possible, which is unlike what some of the news channels or politicians would like you to believe. No, their goal is peace. And the difference between Islam and Islamism, according to the show, and please do correct me in the comments if I get this wrong. The difference between Islam and Islamism is that Islam means we're trying to find peace together, and Islamism is trying to enforce the culture of Islam or the Caliphate onto the entire world. So there's a complete difference that sometimes is just somehow turned into one big pile where people are abusing Islam or Islamism or confusing the terms in a completely different way as to what it was meant to. Other things that were discussed in this program were also very interesting in the sense that they were, in this show particularly, looking at the apocalypse. What does that mean? How does that work? What is the end of days? And again, they analyzed this over various religions. They analyzed it through science experiments too, and especially the latter I found very interesting. Because the science experiment that they did was giving people a shock, so like a literal physical electrical shock. And in the one side of the experiment they would do it without any kind of notification prior to it, and people would get a very powerful shock response. They were really startled. The second part of the experiment, they were given a sort of countdown timer, and when the countdown timer hit 0, you would get the shock. And people then, they were not nearly half as shocked, pardon the pun. It somehow didn't really seem to impact them that much. Now, how does that translate? Well, let's say that you know when the end of days is coming. You may not be as fearful or as worried as you normally would be if you did not see it coming. And of course, people who are declaring the end of the world are actually tapping into that whole, let's say, it psychological system, that psychological wiring that we have, where if they can, let's say, announce the end of the world, people are going to go, okay, I can see it coming, it's okay now, I don't have to worry about it anymore. Which I don't think is entirely accurate, but it was an interesting scientific explanation. Also, of course, as far as the end of days goes, they discovered, or they went over the Mayan calendar, which, if you recall, ended on December 21st, 2012. Or at least that's what people want you to believe, because it didn't actually end. The Mayan calendar apparently works in cycles, different sort of cycles. They don't really know years or decades. They use different elements or different cycles. So, for example, we have a century worth 100 years. We have a millennium reached by 1,000 years. And what simply happened on the Mayan calendar that, again, the news did not decide to mention, was that the Mayan calendar just ended another cycle on that day. It's not like the world ended. And as I was discussing this with my girlfriend and going over it in my head, we were like, okay, do we even believe in this whole element of the end of days or the end of the world? And how it is something that is, I'm not going to say promoted by religion, but that most religions somehow seem to say something about. And I, for one, don't believe in it. I understand how some people can see something as a potential end of days. Whereas, for example, they, on the show, brought forward the example of New Orleans in 2005, I think, where the town got hit by the floods. To some people, that really felt like the end of days. Because let's say their world was quite literally flooded. Does that mean it's the actual end of days? Well, no, I don't think so. That was just a dike or a levee breaking through, meaning lots and lots of water coming in. Did that have anything to do with religion? Probably not. Did people try to explain it through religion? Absolutely. Of course they do. People usually are going to try and explain something through religion if they don't really understand what's going on. And that's something that I found really interesting about this show. It's apparently a recurring show. It's aired here in the Netherlands every Sunday evening. So it's called The Story of God. You can probably find it on your local National Geographic, your National Geographic channel. Really? Okay, well, whatever, whatever National Geographic channel you have, you can probably find it there. And for one, I'm definitely interested in your opinions on this. I don't intend to start a whole comment war, so do keep it polite. I don't want to have to go around with the banhammer or any kind of moderation tools. So just keep it polite, make your arguments with actual arguments, and don't just say it's this because it is this. That's not the type of channel that I run here. We build arguments and we make cases. Final thing that I wanted to mention is that apocalypse, the word apocalypse, I believe, is Greek, and it doesn't mean end of days. It means enlightenment. It doesn't have to do anything with some sort of final judgment, but somehow that is what it seems to have been translated into. I found that very, very interesting. Okay. So far for the religious discussion for this war room. Other things I've been up to this week. I've been talking to a business coach. There's a body language trainer who's a friend of mine who's also a business coach. And I said, look, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea how to get clients. I am pretty quickly going broke. What do I do? And he said, well, how many new people are you meeting? And I was like, well, not too many. And he was like, okay, how many networking events do you attend? He was like, well, or I would like, well, about 1 or 2 a month. So he said, okay, there's your issue. You're hiding behind your computer and you're not reaching out to enough people. So I decided to turn that around. Last week I went to 2 different networking events. Met some interesting new people there. And next week, so let's say this coming week, I'm going to meet with a lot more new people. I'm going to 3 different networking events, all sorts of different types, but just to meet new people and get my, let's say, my story out there. What I do, how I do it, and how I can help people. And that is something that I really, really, really struggle with lately. What is it that I do? And is that important? The thing is, I have never met someone who goes, oh yeah, body language, it's not important, I don't find it that interesting. No, everybody I talk to finds it very interesting. Everybody I talk to wants to learn more, wants to see how they can apply it. But at the same time, it doesn't really seem to be an issue that's that critical to them that they're willing to pay. As they say, it's not solving a burning pain. For example, if you have, let's say if you have a stuffed toe, so your nail has grown into your toe, that hurts every single step. Trust me, I've been there repeatedly. That hurts every single step. Not having proper body language, it will not actually hurt. Literally, because you can still operate, you can still function with your business, you can still make money. I'm just there to help you do that better. But selling that aspect to companies is really, really difficult for me. And something that I'm also constantly struggling with is, who is my target audience? They say that you should find your people and then work with them. And I agree with that idea. I mean, your people, let's say the people you interact best with, those should be your customers or your target audience, right? So why for my body language business am I going after sales professionals? I've never been a sales professional. I don't walk and talk like a sales professional. And as I mentioned a few weeks ago, I don't really link up with sales professionals. I don't really link up with financial professionals. I had some financial clients or some clients in the financial sector. But Are they really my people? I don't know. I don't think so. Here's the thing that I've been struggling with for a few weeks. I think that my people, or the people I interact best with, is you guys, the gamers. The people who play a war game, who are open to strategic tactic thinking, who want to learn more, and I like to think I'm doing a good job explaining Wargame or any other game to newer players. I think that's something that I'm really good at and that I can use to build this channel. At the same time, YouTube doesn't really pay me very much, so even if I wanted to, I could not live off of YouTube until my channel gets to about, well, let's say 10 to 12 times the size that it has now. I'm not quite there yet. So I've been thinking hard and long, how can I combine body language with you guys? How can I help you through body language achieve your goals? And for that I pretty much have a few questions. What are your frustrations at the moment? What do you not like about your life? Are you struggling with job interviews? Are you struggling with meeting new people? Are you struggling with getting in touch with people? Are you working on a pitch or presentation for maybe your own company or the company that you work for that you don't really know how to do? What is it that you struggle with, and how do you think I can help in any kind of capacity? Because as mentioned, I think that the gamers are my people. I've always been attracted to games. I've been playing games since I was probably 10 years old. How do I go from here? How do I help gamers? I have, by the way, been running a website, or at least initially, a website about World of Warships, where I thought, okay, now I'm going to help gamers. It's a website for World of Warships called worldofwarshipsguides.com. And over there I have several different guides for, let's say it's most of the ships by now. At some point though I stopped playing the game, and the website didn't get updated since. What I have been looking at is tens of thousands of page views every month. And that means that the game is still popular, but once again I really don't know how to monetize that. I threw in AdSense, made about $10 a month. I mean, come on, $10 a month for 27,000 page views? Yeah, no thanks. I threw in monetization through, hey, click here to join World of Warships. Not a single soul on the website clicked on it, because if you're looking at that website, you already got the game, and you're looking for intel on a specific ship. So that was one of the other things that I was like, okay, how do I go from here? How do I monetize this? So if you have any other suggestions for that, please go ahead and let me know. Anyway, other things going on this week, other than the network meetings, is my birthday. I'm turning 28, Wednesday, 13th of April. I gotta say, 28. Every time that I'm getting a year older, I'm reflecting on what the hell did I do last year. And normally there's two ways I'm looking at it. On the one hand, I'm going, well, I didn't really achieve that much. On the other hand, I think, well, I did. Because last year, I was just starting out with my business, and by now I already made several thousand euros worth of body language coachings, trainings, and advice. So in that sense, I definitely made progress. I grew my YouTube channel a lot between, let's say, April 2015 and April 2016. And I'm still growing. Every day I get about 6 to 15 subscribers. Not growing as quickly as I'd like, but I'm definitely growing. Been reading a lot, been meeting a few new people here and there, been interacting with you guys a lot and meeting new people through my TeamSpeak, so I really enjoyed that. And the question is, where do I want to go from here? And honestly, I really don't know yet. I just don't know where to go from here. It's a sort of... I'm not going to call it an existential crisis, but a lot of questions. A lot of questions. For example, I've been considering going back and getting a job, and then I'm thinking, okay, but what kind of job? Because I have my bachelor's degree in law, but but it is severely outdated, and I have absolutely no interest in going back to law school or to do something with that law education. I would like to continue with the body language thing, I just don't know how. And aside from getting a job, or aside from getting the job in the law sector, I have internet marketing skills, I have website building skills, but none of those are supported by paper. So I don't have any certifications for that, meaning that I can do the job, but it's hard to use that in a job application. So sometimes I really feel stuck. I don't get any clients for my body language business, I don't know how to find a job, where to get a job, what kind of job. And I gotta say, that is sometimes really driving me nuts. Like, it's a sort of spinning compass where you have no idea what you should be doing, where you're gonna go, and how you're gonna fix the situation. So if I seem a bit down in videos sometimes, that is what's behind it. Anyway, moving on with the questions that you guys asked me last week. Mr. Mercenary asked, do you think Wargame should add more Asian nations to the game, like Cambodia or Malaysia? I don't know. I don't know what kind of different nations or what kind of different units Malaysia and Cambodia have. I think that most of the military units from at least the era from Wargame have been or are in the game. Of course, not all of them. I know that there are several prototypes or several line units that just did not make it in. Mostly for gameplay and balancing reasons. And aside from that, I'm not really sure. I'm just not really sure. I don't think that we need these specific units, but then again, I don't really know what kind of units they have and whether they would make a great contribution to the game. So, I'm afraid of that. I just cannot really answer that question. Wood Ninja wanted to know what my favorite drink and my favorite meal is. That's tough. I enjoy a lot of stuff. As for my favorite drink, I really like the Starbucks, what is it, the hazelnut hot chocolate. It's not suitable for every weather situation though. If it's really hot in summer, I'm not going to drink that stuff. I also like the... God, what's it called? The caramel macchiato, the coffee. Although most of the coffee that I drink is decaffeinated, because I noticed that I get these large energy dips by drinking coffee, and the moment I stopped drinking coffee, that doesn't happen anymore. So I usually drink decaffeinated coffee. As for my meal, I'd say pizza, mostly. Especially the pizza Hawaii, which, if you're not familiar with it, has cheese. Of course, which pizza doesn't have cheese? Come on, there's cheese, ham, and pineapple. I believe that this is not a normal combination for a lot of people, because they simply don't know about it. But it is a really nice pizza, and that's definitely my favorite food. Anyway, that's the end of this war room. Again, I hope you can keep the comments insightful and respectful as far as the religious items go. And if you have anything that you'd like to add to the business, or about the business, or how I can help you guys, please let me know, because I'm really interested in your feedback, what you're struggling with, and how I can possibly help you with that. It's always interesting to learn from you guys and learn to meet new people. So, thanks very much for joining the War Room. I hope you have a good week. Make it a good one. And I'll be seeing you soon in another video. Cheers.